Hey guys, it's Celine, and it's Thursday. Time for another Tummo lesson. Number 4 already. Hard to believe that I've been doing this for nearly a month. Wow, next week it'll actually be a month that we're that I've proposed to create small lessons, not like teachings in a way. Sort of bite size, more or less, where you can actually do, follow the process as it happens. I've no idea yet how many lessons there will be, whether it's a format I will continue to be comfortable with. Beyond a certain point, we will just have to see where we go from here, So far, what I always like to do is to recapitulate just a bit, what I presented to you in my previous lessons, or little informative bits that I did, videos that I did on this. Is there's a couple of notions that you want to sort of always have at the back of your mind, where you're part of an energy spectrum, the body that we know, that we believe that we are, even, actually sits in this huge, massive spectrum of vibrations and energies by itself, sort of like so. So I'm in here in the middle, my body, what I identify as myself, whatever that means, at that point in one's life. And around it and above it and below it is a huge spectrum of vibrations that actually all belong to us. So we sit in the middle of that, and we can contact different from the middle, which we know we can contact certain layers. I don't think you can practically really contact any layer above you or below you, just randomly like that, or at will necessarily. You will contact that which makes sense to you, wherever that is, So I think that's what happens in a lot of, more or less medium type interactions, where what you come into contact with, what you communicate with, is a non-physical layer of vibration that actually belongs to you. So you can name it, you can call it something, give it a name, whereby it actually becomes different from you. And I would surmise that often the Archangel Michael, for example, that we feel so comfortable talking to, not that that's something that I have done myself, but I've seen people do it, that it's actually like a close to the soul, kind of a personal soul, angelic level of vibration, of energy. So that's one way of doing this. There's ways of going into the earth as well, where energies can come up. I think that maybe that's the good thing today to be talking about here, is to learn as you do this more and more. We find out which energies are actually our own, at which level, and why. And that's something that you really cannot put into words, except I cannot put it into words, except, in a general way like this, because I have had this question posed to me sometimes in the past. How can you identify an energy as belonging to you or as not belonging to you? And I just do this. So, I know, And so that type of knowing is really hard to come across or to teach. You cannot really, I don't think you can teach that except by just practicing the hell out of this, excuse my French, until you figure it out. So that is a crucial part of the whole Tummo process, as I would like to be teaching it at this point, you know, is that you just have to practice. Practice, 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 practice. But you don't force yourself to do things that you don't want to do. You have to make it attractive and or appealing. You know, you have to do this because you like it, because you can't stay away. Then it's a real craft. It becomes a craft if it's a passion. Okay? Science plus passion plus technique and endless dedication and endless surrender and all those things. So, yeah. So, having said that, I'm going to offer you a bit more of a, you know, hands-on kind of a little practical next point, comparable to the hot stone, sitting on the hot stone technique. The idea using the hot stone technique is that you learn to feel your Shakti energy, because quite often we don't know what it is we're talking about. We have notions of Kundalini energy symbolized to a large extent, like this whole screen is filled up with symbols of chakras, of goddesses, of cultural stuff that doesn't really have to apply to you, to the extent that it also doesn't really have to vibrationally bring you anywhere. To use a Shakti figure, like a picture, an image of a Shakti, doesn't have to remind you inside, if you don't have an Indian lineage or in whatever shape or form, that will not make it any easier or more obvious, you know, or more accessible for you to actually feel your own Shakti energy. So I'm making a distinction here for us. There's the actual experience of the actual real-time physical energies, you know, these things that are part of us on the one hand. Then there's a gap with nothing in it, and then there's the culture. The culture is there for a reason as well, and maybe an image of a Shakti will help you. I'm just saying it doesn't have to, and it doesn't work for everybody, and it doesn't work for everybody in the same way. So I have, you know, hesitated a long time, and I've tried to think up other words to refer to this earth energy, which is already a word, you know, already in a direction. It goes in a direction with my words, earth energy. It's not that easy. All the words apply, and maybe we just all have to, you know, think up our own words, really, and it doesn't matter. What matters is the experience, okay? So once we have, you know, if you have perhaps, you know, done this, or you're planning to do this at some point, sitting on the hot stone will create an acknowledgement in your lower body of a sense of heat, a sense of comfortable, probably most of the time, comfortable, relaxed state of warmth in your root chakra area, in your bottom, in your lower belly, like that. There's different levels of expression of this Shakti energy, and most times I would suggest that it comes up in a way that's fairly moderate because of the things, okay? There's things that prevent it from just blooming into our bodies and just pew going like that. There's things that prevent that. And those things I am trying to point out to you here, so that one at a time you can look at them and decide, you know, obtain a freedom of choice at each point. Okay, is this what I want to do with this energy? Or do I want to go to the level where Tummo becomes possible? All this is actual preparation. We're not getting into Tummo territory yet, as is. But we need to do all these things. We need to prepare in order to be able to create the Tummo at some point in the near quite foreseeable future. Okay, we can get to that. So what happens is that the Shakti energy can be felt, and you can actually just sort of leave it at that. That can already be soothing and comforting and relaxing, and my husband just falls asleep just most of the times, even with the hot stone, sitting on the hot stone process. He's exhausted anyway. He's done a whole day's work, and he's just offline, boom, gone. Which is fine, because the body decides that sleep is more important at that point. So I would never say to anybody, don't sleep, because you need it, okay? You need sleep, you need enough fluids, you need enough fresh air, you need food, exercise. It's very basic and very simple. I could go into a whole list of things that you are consuming, that we are consuming, that we don't need. I'm not going to do that, because that goes beyond the purpose of this video. So there are 3 points, which I will have called so far always. Along the lower spine, you can see 3 points where the Shakti energy is put on hold, slowed down, or prevented from going any further, stopped, prevented from expressing itself, and so on and so forth. 3 consecutive points. The first point is actually the root chakra itself, or just beyond it inside the body. There's a crucial level there where if we do not feel safe, if the body does not feel safe, if the child inside us does not feel safe, those are the points where this decision is made all the time, then the Shakti does not progress inward consciously to our awareness. There's always a level of Shakti, and it keeps us fed and it keeps us alive anyway, even though we are programmed to have shut it all down and, sort of repressed it. And I can see inside my own body. I've seen it occasionally. I can also see it in my husband's body. Areas that are cold. I always feel this it's like a third eye type of a perception, except it's also in my hands, where the energy that I feel, if there's a Shakti energy or a Shakti level missing in whatever body part that is, it will feel cold to me. More and more as time passes and I practice this stuff, I notice this. If I'm menstruating, my uterus feels colder than all the rest of it around it. That's actually a really good signal for me to say, okay, I need to get some stuff organized, get the juice back in, get the goodness, because it needs the goodness. The coldness or coolness that you feel is always a matter of some kind of blockage. It always means that somewhere along the line, somewhere in that whole engine, there's a space where the fuel is stopped. It's prevented from moving onwards and just supplying the whole of the engine with, optimum juice. There you go. So the first root chakra blockage has to do with safety. I have had a sort of a set of sessions, I think. It's a while ago now, because I did this in the beginning of my practice. And I also did a whole year of what I called Shakti energy work, which was sort of preparation for the actual getting to do Tummo level of things. So during that whole time, I played around with the sense of safety quite a bit. And I needed to figure out, feel out, what it meant really and where it came from. This is crucial. It's important to us psychologically and emotionally and in terms of personal growth. You're gonna have a ton of personal growth with Shakti work and with Tummo. It just happens. It just comes out through you, and all this stuff is you. I don't think that if you're here and if you're actually trying some of this stuff out for yourself, it already means that you are kind of done to a point with the levels of blockages that are quite normal. Everybody around us, whether you're in Europe or in America or in Australia or anywhere in the world, humans carry these blockages around with them. And this lack of safety is the most crucial and the most basic one. The most basic sense of... so getting around to sort of talking yourself into a sense of safety again, after I don't know what you have been through, that may be really difficult. I think it's possible. I think it's nearly always possible to, with time and self-care, to recreate a sense of safety in the now. You may not have been safe in the past, and that was a bad thing. And I, feel really bad for people in that situation. I was also in that situation to some extent myself. I wouldn't say this as you can do this, and it's a matter of discipline, and it's a matter of law, or spirituality. Maybe those things really work for you, but it really is up to you. And I don't think I'm not sure it's always possible. It depends, I suppose, on a lot of things. It depends on your convictions, on your personal strength. There's a lot more strength to us humans hidden deep inside than we know. So who knows? Maybe it is possible for everybody. Wouldn't that be something? So that's level 1, okay? The checkpoint number 1, root chakra, safety, okay? Checkpoint number 2 sits in along the spine, maybe an inch or so upwards from the first one. So you're well into your tailbone, slightly up above where the tailbone moves into this kind of a shield shape that is at the bottom of our spines. At that point is a completely different type of checkpoint, and it determines, it's like a doorway. It determines which of the 2 channels is going to be used for the Shakti. In the one case, the energy goes to the sexual organs, where it will tend to, as we all know, express itself in one of a number of ways. And there's a point to all that, and it's fine, but you cannot then sort of recapture it and reintegrate it. That's nearly impossible. Later on, when you have your Tummo completely sorted out and you know all the paths, there are possibilities of actually sort of reintegrating some of that energy. Maybe, I'm adding another maybe because it's difficult. In most times, I wouldn't say that there is really that much of a point to that at this point. You just want to go back to your checkpoint and decide, am I going to use my energy for this part of life, or am I going to proceed? So it's a really important, pivot of choice. Are you going to go this way, or are you going to go the other way? Most people don't even know this. They get this Shakti vibration in them, and all they can think of is get somebody to have sex with, you know, which is totally fine. And everybody who does a bit more of a sterner, more disciplined kind of a long-term practice encounters this, little angel, little devil kind of a dichotomy sitting on either of your shoulders, like that, at some point or other. You're going to run into this. But it's a choice. It's just a choice. I'm not against having a healthy sex life at all. I'm a great fan, of that. However, it just depends what you want to do, And we're not done, because there's a third checkpoint going up along the spine on the inside, with your Shakti, and you have to so carefully feel your way forward. The first couple of months or so, if this is what you're doing, you can tell the difference, but it's going to be like this much difference in how you feel it. You can feel it. You can feel it, but it just goes quite slowly, especially going along the spine. There's other techniques going through the middle channel, which I will not advocate that you do at this point ever, because the middle channel is quite useful, but it will come in handy later when we've got our tummo well set, and when we've got our whole, our whole physical frame adjusted and adapted to our Shakti energy much more. By then, you are comfortable also using the middle channel. You don't want to skip ahead a year or 18 months, supposing you do this 4 or 5 times a week, because that's what you have standing for this. So, supposing that we decided at number 2 to not go into the sex life, we're going to move on to checkpoint number 3. This is actually another really important checkpoint, and it is the beginning at the backbone of the level of the first Dantian. So the Dantian is a term from Chinese martial arts, often, energy work, Chinese energy work, I should be saying. It's a transformer. The Dantians, there's 3 of them, one down there, one underneath the heart, and one in the middle of the head. And all 3 serve as Shakti transformers. And activating just one of them, just the first one at the bottom in the belly, already makes a massive difference, in your life. But this whole process is slow, it takes time, and it takes a lot of doing, and quite a bit of dedication, and quite a bit of, keeping at it, and feeling, again, choosing one's focus, and then feeling what is happening constantly, back and forth. Not necessarily during the day. I always promote, working on this late in the evening, between 11 and 5 at night, If you are awake at any point, you can use that time in a way that's just excellent, for this practice. So the third checkpoint is very often burdened with old energies that have to do somehow with safety also. More often, I would tend to think from what I've experienced so far in this level is it has to do whether things are allowed. It has to do with whether things and expressions are understood, acceptable, whether other people did it. So the level of blockages at checkpoint 3 are often inherited, because we have copied the patterns, from in our bodies, the vibrational patterns around the Dantian from our parents, from our mothers, quite often. So things not being allowed, things not being acceptable, things not being understood on a visceral level, that all sits down there. It has decided to start to rain. I don't know if you can hear this, but I've got it all wide open because it smells beautiful and it's raining. And for me, being alive means having an active underbelly. It means that I smell the rain and that it is allowed and understood and acceptable. Yes, even as I say it, there's a kind of a twinge in here, you know, that I identify as somebody who enjoys standing here talking to you with my cat who came in out of the rain, and there's the summer smell of summer rain coming into the house like that. I enjoy this. Joy, whether joy is allowed, whether joy, so it goes a lot beyond safety. You see the difference in level here between the safety and the sexuality and the joy. I suppose that really is the fundamental issue at checkpoint 3, where once we have, and the medicine here, I should point out, is that, and the same medicine applies in the root chakra area as well, as soon as you manage to feel your Shakti energy in that presence of this, whatever type of a problem it is that you have in there, you know, whatever kind of distrust or disbelief or disappointment, I would say, just a couple of terms to just get you thinking, you know, if you bring that in contact with the Shakti energy, there will be a melting of some sort. There will be a re-energizing. And that can affect us quite a bit. It will feel good. It will feel fine once we've gotten over the maybe, you know, level of I didn't know it was this important to me kind of a realization. Because those will happen along the way as well. There will be moments, they still happen to me every day, like, God, Rita, I didn't have a clue that this was such a big deal to me. And it is. There are things in my life that are such a huge deal, and I am only now at 55 starting to figure that out. Figure out what really is important. Because I was programmed by other people's priorities. Sounds familiar? Yes. So our next activity, you know, once we have done our sitting on the hot stone business and we've familiarized ourselves with this hot vibe, this fiery vibe that is Shakti, we can, you know, proceed onwards with our checkpoints and find out where we are in all this and learn to trust the Shakti. I've had a couple of moments where I was like, I don't trust myself. I don't trust my past. I don't trust my family. I don't trust my history. I don't trust this country. I don't trust where I am. But I do trust my Shakti. Even though I'm scared and it's kind of creepy and interesting and weird and witchy and all that stuff. And it's a bit much sometimes. Getting to work with Shakti becomes more and more, you know, it becomes big. It does. It really becomes, but we grow at the same level. We grow at the same time. We grow up with our Shaktis. And she makes so much more possible, not only in terms of deconstructing the past and the disbelief and the disappointment and all the rest of it, but also furnishing us with new power and new joy and new understanding and compassion and all those things. If we let her come into our lives. So yeah, so I think that's more or less what I had to say today. Half an hour, wow. That's quite a lengthy lesson. Thank you for being here. I saw that there were some rising numbers of views for my Tummo lesson, so that gave me courage to, you know, come back out and do another one. So here you are. And I hope this is enjoying and enjoyable, I should say, and entertaining for you to think about. And best of luck with all this, with all the rest of it. See you next time. Okay, I will probably be back maybe tomorrow or next week. We will see. Okay, thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.